You had them giggling and laughing. I, uh, I, I can't start. We're short one person, so I won't be able to start till Johnny Walker gets here. So, do you have any Johnny Walker back there? This is a tough group today. Yes, there we go. All right. Real quick before we start, last week I was in Idaho Falls and I had met. Oh, you know what, Lola? I saved one piece of gum for you because yes, everybody else had gum and I didn't want you to feel left out. I was like, I have one more piece left. Okay. Hope that wasn't the one I found out. So, no, that wasn't it. Okay. So I'm in Idaho Falls. I'm reaching out to a prospect, and I talked to the prospect, and I said, what do you like to read? I always ask people, what are you reading now? And they told me this particular book, and so I go to the Barnes & Noble in Idaho Falls, and I'm looking for the book, and Curtis, I'm kind of in a hurry, so naturally I'm going to go to, and I'll call it The Clerk. I know there's a better name, but I'm going to go to The Clerk, and I said, hey, I'm looking for Simon Sinek, and the name of the book is Your Why Behind Your What. I can't remember what the name of it was. She goes, oh, I'm not allowed to help. And I kind of had this perplexed look on my face. She goes, oh, you need to go over there where it says customer service. And I couldn't figure that out. And so I went over where the customer, now, ironically enough, there was no one in the customer service. And I'm thinking to myself, at the Barnes & Noble, wouldn't that be where you go? So, and those of you that are Winco, how many Winco do I know I at least got 3 or 4. And, okay, well, we got more than 3 or 4 here. If you're not at Winco, don't feel bad. I was training in Winco's office. Do you guys know, have you ever seen that big conference room in there with the Marlin that's up? Is it a Marlin or, okay. So I'm training the HR team. This is last week. So if you see the HR team, and I'm going, and Valerie Davis, we went to college together, and Val's kind of, and she's got this face on her, look on her face, and I'm like, what's wrong, Val? She goes, I'm worried you're going to run into the fish, you know? And so I'm training, and I move around. And man, I hit the fin of that thing and I dropped down, and she's like, oh my word. But anyhow, I share this with you as Winco. I want to make sure you guys know I'm not cheating on you, but across the street from where I live, there's a Fred Meyer, and you will appreciate this. So I'm at the Fred Meyer. My daughter needed something in a hurry, and we're checking out, and I couldn't find, I'm trying to think what the heck it was. Oh, I was trying to find Gold Bond. And my son had come into town. You can imagine why a 19-year-old might need Gold Bond. And so she says, naturally, hey, did you find everything okay? And I always think to myself, and Dustin, I'm a sales and a motivational coach, so I'm always, I'm thinking, well, I wonder what they'll say. Well, no. Well, that's too bad. And then she continues on. Okay, so now, and I write a weekly blog and do this stuff, so I'm like, man, I got a good story. So today, before I came here, I went to the Walgreens to get my bubble gum, and the gentleman's name there was Michael, and I hadn't planned on this, but I walked in the store, and Michael greeted me, said, how are you today, sir? In the Walgreens, great. Can I help you? And I said, well, I'm getting some bubble gum. Runs over, takes me, he goes, here's the bubble gum, and I'm grabbing my notes on this because this is kind of the tie to, and believe it or not, he had a smile on his face. And he said, sir, would you like to hear the joke of the day or the quote of the day? I'm like, wow, okay. I will go to Barnes & Noble, and they can't, Fred Meyer. They're like, hey, whatever. Now so I said, well, the quote of the day. All right. So he gets his paper, and he says, the quote of the day. Babe Ruth says, if I strike out enough, eventually I'm going to hit a home run. Well, okay, fair enough. I like that. And so he goes, did you find everything? Are you sure anything I can help you with? Rings it up, and he gets me this, and he says, now, I want to make sure that you go on here and fill this out. By the way, my name's Michael, and if there's ever anything I can do, please reach out to me. And at that moment, I thought, how do we motivate our employees to be so passionate about what they do? Because earlier, I knew his boss or his supervisor was talking to him, and the reason I knew, Carolyn, it was a supervisor, because it sounded like something like this. Well, if we can get it for cheap enough, we'll go ahead and do that. So I'm assuming that was his supervisor, okay? I'm not sure. But to get them motivated to be able to do the right thing when no one's looking. To do the right thing when no one's looking. Because think of my experience at Barnes & Noble. Now, most of the people you run into are not going to write a blog and they have 10,000 subscribers to what they do. But my wife went to the Winco the other day, and it's the news store in Napa, and she made a comment about, I think there's fresh seafood, or there's, she goes, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And they came up and they helped me. And what's most important isn't the seafood, but it's the people. It's the people. And that's kind of our mission today as we look, okay, we're going to interview, we're going to hire, but I really want to focus on this retaining. Because to share with you what is the biggest challenge of whether you own Winco, which I assume all of you do, is that correct? Okay, all of you own Winco. Or whether you're a manager or a mentor or a coach. The biggest challenge, and I was with a friend of mine, he owns all the Taco Bells, and I said, hey, Carl, what can I do to help you out? Help me find good employees. And I said, well, what about the ones you already have? So part of our mission today is to get the people we have to be like Michael. How do we get the people that we have to be like Michael? And part of it is to find out what makes Michael tick. Because you guys hear this all the time. Any store you go to, Wendy, hey, did you find everything okay? And usually, what do we say, Wendy? Hey, did you find everything okay? Oh, yeah, I found everything. Well, hell no, but I'm afraid you go, well, that's too bad. That's too bad. All right? So real quick, before we start today, I want to ask you, and I promised Dustin that I'd share this story. Dustin grew up, was at Murtaugh? In Murtaugh. And what I want you to do is share with, you're going to have to work with, sorry, you got to work with those two guys behind you, but you'll get into teams of two. The first job that didn't end so well for you. And the reason I put this picture up was, Dustin, my dad's a veterinarian, and I think I've shared that with you guys before. And so I'm in 6th grade. He's out at some farmer's place, and like any good North Idaho veterinarian, his son needs to have a job. So in 6th grade, these people said, hey, we need somebody to change pipes and clean. Basically, they needed a farm foreman. Well, of course, a 6th grader would be perfect for that, right? So I got out there, and of course, and I use this as an example. You haven't seen sprinkler pipes, or you have, but back in the day, you used to change them by hand. Now they have wheels on them. But man, I couldn't even hold that pipe up, and I'm trying to keep my dad happy and all this stuff. Well, the end of the day didn't end well, and it was all in my head. I feel sorry for my dad's poor client that said, you know, Dr. Tester, your son is not a fit, but wrong job, wrong place, that type of stuff. And it devastated me. So I was like, that will never happen to me again. So I want you to share your first job that didn't end so well. And it could be in 6th grade, it could be in 7th grade. And I want you to share kind of with the person next to you. And then just so you guys know, a harbinger of things to come, Seth, the next thing will be, who's the best boss that you ever worked for? Who's the best boss you ever worked for? For me, it was a news director when I did the sports at Channel 6. He was the one that, I remember he always motivated us before we went on the air. There was just something, because high stress, and then at 10:10 you're on the air, and whether you're ready to go or not, but he just always made you feel a certain way. So he would have been the best boss. And even after he left, our company, if you've ever read Good to Great, continues to do really well. So take a couple minutes with the person beside you. Share maybe your version of the Dave Tester pipe changing story. And maybe it wasn't in 6th grade. Maybe it wasn't that long ago. I don't know. And then also share, and by the way, the best boss I ever worked for, the reason I liked them was they did this. Okay, so spend about 5 minutes on it. So Carolyn and Wendy, I think you two sat here last time. Dustin and Curtis, you guys know each other. And Michael said, I got to get done about 15. Are you going to leave 15 minutes early today? Both of you. So I got to go really fast. Quarter 50, 75, $1.50, count a calf. Okay, here we go. Okay, there you go. Okay, now it's on. So that's what I want you guys to think about in terms of, so Seth said the best guy I ever worked for. Well, he was a lot like me. That's your point. He's a lot like me. Curtis, tell me your pipe changing story, or did you have one?
The one that came to mind was worked for a credit union as a loan officer. I was there for about a year and a half, and I was terminated from the position. And the reason they gave me was that I just wasn't performing, or they didn't think that I was performing up to the standards, which I didn't personally agree with. I was doing a good job.
Sure.
So I'm like, okay. So.
Yeah, and it's important to have those things outlined, because usually when something like this happens, I was hoping it would happen. But usually we know why. A lot of times we'll get, somebody will say, hey, what happened? I don't know, management or whatever it is. Well, if we don't have clear outlines, like you said, Curtis, in my mind, I was performing. So we have to have clear outlines. So I'm going to send it back to each one of you real quick and ask you, what would you hope to take out of this today if you said, all right, here's the topic. I'm going to go in. Yeah, I remember, Dave, I kind of got a chuckle out of a couple of things, and some things didn't work so well, but interview, hire, and retain. What do you hope to take away? So, and Jeffrey, remind me, do you like to go by Jeffrey or Jeff? Okay. So, Jeff, so the training's all done, and remember, it's quarter till. You guys get to leave 15 minutes early today. So it's quarter till. You kind of go, hey, we're going to go now, and I don't want to make a big deal about it. What would you hope to take away today, Jeff? What would be something, or maybe a better question is, why'd you come today? Is it just so you mark that off and go, yep, I went to the damn training. I get a Winco nugget. If I get 10 of them, I get a day off, and then I'm one nugget closer. Yes, yes. Okay. Now, if we go back to the Barnes and Noble lady, well, actually, it wasn't the Barnes and Noble lady. It was the Fred Meyer lady. She didn't listen. She didn't listen. So if I listen close to Jeff, and James, I haven't called on you yet, but don't worry, it's coming. James, what did you hear from Jeff? If you were really listening, what did you hear? Or were you might not have been listening. You're thinking about, what the hell's for lunch? Dustin's a good listener. We'll have Dustin. Dustin, what did you hear Jeff say? In case you're wondering, I wrote it on the board. Okay. So fair enough. Now, I will share this with you. Jeff, remember the disc is about what I observe. It's not internal, it's what I observe. You come across as this guy, pretty kind. That's how you come across. But the outspoken, that's my aha. Oh. So Jeff, that being said, when you say outspoken, tell me more. So do you think some people have tried to read your mind like, uh-oh, Jeff's pissed today, or Jeff's really happy, or do you think that's ever happened? Okay. So maybe let's go back to what you said, Dustin, when you said these are a conundrum. Well, if we find out what he's saying, because a lot of times, and Jeff, do you have a group that works under you, with you? Kind of tell me your management plan. With you. Okay. And I don't know, but I can share this story about my dad, who I guess were the pipe story. My dad goes, it's funny, when I go in the clinic, people there are always, I have to have a smile on my face. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. Well, how come, Dad? Well, because if I have a smile on my face, they all think it's going to be a good day. And I'm like, oh, well, that's the same thing at home. Isn't that interesting? He didn't have a smile on his face very often at work, but that's how that goes. So maybe, Jeff, that's been your read. Hey, Jeff, I don't know what you're thinking. Or, hey, Jeff, speak up. I don't have any idea, but that's where you as managers have to dig in. Jeff, what's an example of, I'll use this, where you said, I always say I want to be the person that said, I'm glad I did, not I wish I would have. But in this particular case, where was it where you wish you would have spoke up? Maybe that you can think of. Hey, I wish I would have spoke up here. Or I'm frustrated that I can't speak up because, you know. Okay.
So if I spoke up, it would basically turn through against me with no backing from management.
Okay.
So it made it really tough.
Yeah, put you in an awkward spot. Absolutely. So more of maybe what Jeff brings with him is past experience. However, I can tell you when I ask the HR team, hey, what keeps you from speaking up? Well, political things or this thing. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff. Yet when I play interviews of other stores going, man, I need them to speak up. I love these people. And they were like, we had no idea. We thought HR was a dirty word. I said, well, it is, but I didn't tell them that. I didn't play that part. But that's what I want you to think about, is to be, and this is good exercises for all of you to go through. So let's come over here. What would be your hope or takeaway? Or maybe we can position it a different way. What's your biggest challenge when it comes to hire, retain, motivate, let go, recruit? What would be your biggest challenge?
I think motivating the people who work with me to do a good job and want to do it well.
Okay. And tell me more. Because remember in our last training, you might miss this part, but I said, remember, you can't motivate anybody. But what can you do? Yeah, find out what does motivate them. So I'll use a real life example here. Jim's probably going to come in at some time and maybe bring chocolates or candies. And Jim is what we call a steady. He doesn't want anybody to know anything about him. And so if I were to ask Jim, hey, Jim, how do you like to be motivated? Oh, I don't know. It's, you know, I like what's going on here. Now, remember, I'm like Seth, so I'm like, just tell me what motivates you, and let's get this done, okay? However, I came up with a new strategy. I decided that Jim is, seniority is really important to him. And when I say seniority, make sure you know, Dustin, I'm not rank, I'm talking about longevity. So Jim has been here for the longest. So I thought I'd approach it a different way. Hey, Jim, we're trying to figure out ways to motivate people on the team. How do you think we should motivate Carolyn? So he goes, oh, well, Carolyn likes this, and Carolyn likes that. And, well, what about Curtis? Curtis likes to ride dirt bikes, and he does this, and he does that. What about Seth? I got no idea about Seth, but he didn't really say that. So then, naturally, guess what the next question would be? Yeah, I go, well, hell, while we're talking about it, what about you? And all of a sudden it changed the whole dynamics because it allowed him to give us the right answer. So sometimes we have to be patient because Dustin is an example. Dustin, what motivates you? But if we leave him space and allow, we discovered a whole bunch of things. So what we discovered was, I'd like to take my wife out for a nice evening on the town, maybe stay overnight at a nice hotel. So I went right down to Motel 4 and the Denny's, and I got it all set up for him. Okay? I'm just kidding on that, Carolyn. It was Motel 6. So the whole point to that is we have to be patient. Because if this were just an Alka-Seltzer, okay, everybody, tell me how, fact is, just email it to me. How do y'all like to be managed? Well, I like to roll in at 10 o'clock and get a raise every week. Because part of that is you're coaching them to be like Michael. How do you coach them to be like Michael? Let's do one more. Curtis, what do you hope to take away? Or I'll use the word conundrum or challenge. What are you faced with as we look at interview, hire, retain? And maybe it's not on this board. It may be just we could put motivation. Really, this is what it's about, because in terms of interviewing, there's a set group of questions we ask. Hiring, there's a poll. But this is the big one. How do we not only keep the employees we really like, but how do we get our C's to B's? I can live with that and make sure the arrow is pointing up. Because I encourage all of you to take the people that you work with, and you should have them A, B, and C, arrow up, arrow down, or neutral. You should know that all the time. So in this case, Carolyn's an A, she's neutral. Well, what do I do to turn that arrow up? Seth might be a C going down. I might have to figure out what it is but if I can get everybody arrows going up, I can deal with a C and an arrow going up, because C and an arrow goes up means they're working their way to B. But neutrals don't work, and arrows down certainly don't work. So you should know that about each one of your people, and not go, well, damn, Jeff's a C and he's an arrow going down, but he scares me to death. You've got to sit down and have those discussions with him. It's not an HR discussion. It's, hey, Jeff, I get the feeling that there's something on your mind. Is that just me, or is that the case? Oh, it's just you. Well, I feel that there's something, have you had a bad experience in the past? I mean, just for your manager to be able to discover, oh, the last place I worked, I wanted to speak up, but management didn't back me. I work for a company that does a lot of work for you guys, ESI Construction and ESI Express. I think they build all the Wincos, and so, and one of the things we work on is empowering them. And it starts out by picking up a can that you see in front of a door. Hey, pick up a can and throw it away. That tells a lot about us. Hey, there's a can there. Well, what makes you pick it up? What doesn't? Well, what made Michael? So some of that stuff is just intrinsic. There's nothing you can do about it. But Curtis, what would be something you would hope to take away?
As far as probably just retain, under the retain aspect, is just giving and sharing the tools to help them be successful, in their whatever position they are.
Okay.
Get them to people like Michael, that are happy to be there and
Yeah.
want to be there.
Well, and Curtis, the hard part is that I'm kind of pushing back on you, because you're to that level where I can push back on you and say, well, what do you do if they don't know what tools they need? The Barnes & Noble gal. Hey, what tools do you need to be more gregarious? I'm not allowed to answer that question. Okay, hey, Fred Meyer gal, what do you need to have common sense? Oh, I hope you're having a nice day. So in some regards, it's not only just saying, what tools do I need? It's going to be kind of like what we discussed with Dustin. Dustin might be, tell me, show me, then allow me to do it, and if I tweak it a little, that's okay. And I don't even know if that's what Dustin likes, but just in the quick seconds I talk to him, show me, or rather have you tell me in written form, now show me, then let me do it, and if I change something, that's okay. Could be. I don't know. Because think about the different personalities. So I'm trying to be politically correct, but maybe share, maybe not the name, but maybe a challenge that you're dealing with a particular employee. And don't tell the story about Carolyn, but there may be somebody else. But in terms of, they're doing pretty, they're a B, but they're neutral. But what would turn the arrow up? What would it be?
Well, not really an issue with an employee, but right now we're kind of training a new dispatcher to kind of be a backup when we're on vacation or sick or whatever.
Yeah.
So basically trying to get him, he's kind of catching on quick.
Right.
But just making sure that he keeps that and, showing him the tools and whatnot, and just making sure that he can come and ask us questions, like, make sure that is open to where he doesn't feel afraid or whatever to ask questions like, hey, I forgot how to do this. Can you show me again? Or
what that looks like.
So I think he's going in the right direction, but just making sure that it's continuing.
And what would you guess his personality? Is he dominant? Is he Donald Trump? Is he influencer? Jimmy Fallon? Is he Nicole Kidman? Or is he Spock? Just the facts.
He's
Okay.
with the dealings I've had with him and
Wow.
stuff.
So that's, and what would you guess you are?
I'm an influencer.
Okay.
That's what,
All right. So sometimes it might be hard for you to have the tough conversation with. Might be. I don't know, but I'm guessing because you got two guys that are going, hey, you love me, you love me. I don't want to hurt his feelings and this, that, and the other. So one thing you might try, now when I hear the word dispatch, does that mean sometimes he's on the radio or on the phone or anything like that? So you might try to record him so he can hear what he sounds like and maybe play that back for him. Okay? I don't know how you do it, but I wouldn't ask this lady. Okay? So my encouragement would be just go get a little recorder at this place, ask for Michael, and then just say, hey, I want it, so play back and hear, how do you think this is coming across? Or what does this sound like? Because remember, as dispatch, think this through, their community, they don't have any body language. So now it's all tone and tempo. Tone and tempo. And you got to be careful because somebody might, where the hell am I supposed to go? And he thinks they're mad at him because he's an influencer. What did I do wrong, Curtis? Oh, nothing. That's how he always talks, or, you know, so those pieces. So think about maybe recording, because I don't know if you guys have done the exercise before, but Curtis, you can do it real quick. Make a circle if you guys want to. Okay? Nobody else wants to. All right, and then put it right here on your chin. Okay? All right, that's not your chin. This is your chin. Okay, but remember, if you see it, you believe it. So if he hears it, he might be able to self-coach himself. Because that's really what you guys want to do is you're creating a mirror, no different than Seth. I've got to have a mirror for Seth. Because did you hear what he said? Seth, remind me how you like to be coached. Tell me what to do, and then get out of the way. But sometimes I have to put this mirror and go, you're leaving a trail of tears behind you. And I need to be able to show him that so he can go, oh, I didn't know I did that. But I can't tell him. I can't go, hey, Seth, you know, it's great how you do stuff, but the paperwork's hell. Or whatever it is. You've got to be able to discover it, and that's what I'm helping him do is discover that. All right, Carolyn, how about for you? Well, what your hope would be today. So you came, you sat in the front of the class, you brought your cool Dutch Bros mug, which I really appreciate that. I love that about you. Bring your cool mug. What would your hope be today to take away?
How to communicate with my cashiers so that
All their arrows are going up. Outstanding. Well, that's good. All right, so let's just give you some quick stats here today. On average, it costs about $50,000 to hire somebody. On average, that's what it is. And the only reason I have 49,920 is that was the national average, what it costs to hire somebody. If they don't make it, and I never knew what a pink slip was, because when I played in basketball in school, whenever we'd block somebody's shot, it was called a pink slip, and they were like rejection. So anyhow, I guess this is what a pink slip is. It's a notice of termination of employment. It costs you 150% of their salary. So the whole point to this is when somebody doesn't make it, it costs you a lot of money. And I think all of you are unique because you own part of the company. So every time somebody doesn't make it, it's not like, well, glad to get Curtis out of here. It's that cost us 150% of their salary. That's what it costs. So obviously today we're going to talk about an interview. I'm going to just play a couple of interviews. I don't know how many of you do interviews. I'll play a couple of clips, some secrets when you're hiring. But the big one that I'm hearing from you as far as retaining or getting the arrows to go up. So do you guys have any of the, did you guys get a copy of these notes or no? Okay, so I want you to go to this page right here and go ahead and say, top 10 qualities of my ideal candidate are what? Okay, do you guys have that sheet? So go ahead and fill those out. And these are your, now remember, this isn't an HR form. This isn't an HR form. This is something about integrity. Well, what's that mean? Doing the right thing when nobody's looking, all right? Enthusiasm, what's that mean? Well, when you're at the door, they say, do you want the joke of the day or do you want the quote of the day? So put down your top 10 qualities. Remember, this isn't the stores. This isn't an HR exam. This is for you to be able to, when you see that person, just like I did today, saw Michael at Walgreens. My attitude was, I might try to steal him for somebody. That's how that worked. Because my radar, number one, is right thing when no one's looking. The other one is enthusiastic. And then also he follows protocol. I don't know if you guys do this. I hear it's a big deal. Surveys. Highlighted the survey. Here's what you do. All the things that go with it. Followed the protocol to perfection. And guess what? I hate to fill out surveys. I'll probably fill this out just to say what a great job Michael did. Because you only have to be 10% better because everybody's so bad. Well, think about it. My last 3 experiences, they're pretty simple. And then Dustin, the rest of them were just neutral. Well, how was your experience? Well, I don't know. I don't remember. How was this experience? But I remember my really bad ones, and because the great ones, and what was it he did? Well, he smiled and he said, do you want the joke of the day or the quote of the day? It's pretty easy. Let me ask you, how many of you have flown on Southwest Airlines? Most of us have a story about Southwest Airlines because they only have 3 things they have to follow. Number 1 is, are we on time? Okay. Number 2, does it make our fares or save us money? And number 3, are we having fun? So if somebody came up, Dustin, I'm pretending that you're the head of Southwest Airlines. Hey, Dustin, we need nicer chairs in the tarmac, the waiting area. We need nicer chairs. So Dustin runs it through his filter. Let's see. Does that make us on time? No. Save us money on fares? Mm-mm. Does it make us have more fun? No. We're not getting chairs. Well, okay, so they could be, and so it sounded like this. Hey, Dustin, why don't you bring in beanbags? But do you see how that's positioned? The same thing here is, so it's real easy for your team as a dispatcher, Curtis, what's the most important thing? The most important thing is, do you take notes and are you listening to tone and tempo? Meaning slow down when you're dispatching. So are you constantly taking notes? Do you have a yellow pad? And are you listening for what's not being said? What's not being said? I told them to go to Twin Falls and they really went to Coeur d'Alene. Or I heard kinder and outspoken. Well, that's a conundrum. What was not being said? Well, what was really not being said is I had a bad experience somewhere. And I'd like to speak my mind because I think I've got great ideas. And people that really know me say, hey, Jeff, why don't you speak your mind? You've got great ideas. And that's what the dispatcher has to listen for and then also keep that cool head. Not be an influencer, not be compliant, but keep that chameleon. So some people that we're dispatching to, go here, here, and here. Others, get there now. Others, hey, be safe. And others have 3 options, but that's what they have to listen for. And that's hard to coach and train. It's hard to coach and train, but the first step is record yourself so you can hear what you sound like. I'm just talking about in that particular role. And then the next piece you would write is, why would they want to work for you? And why would they want to work for you? And I want you to focus more on yourself in this case than Winco. Because that's, well, we're owned by the employees. We get free food for life. No, you don't? Oh, shoot. I know you don't, because every time hey, Val, can I get a gift card? We don't even get a discount. Okay? So just go ahead and if you can't come up with 10, that's fine. But it allows you to think about what's your ideal candidate. What do they look like? What do they sound like? How do they dress? All those type of things. Remember, this is an HR. So if you wrote on there, I'd prefer a non-smoker, I would prefer this or prefer that. This is just for yourself to go through. So when you're out and about and you see the Michaels of the world, you say, how can I get Michael to come work for me? Because I like to hire happy people. Now, how many of you typically hire in your departments? Any of you hire? Okay, so you do. So Wendy, go ahead and spend a couple of minutes on this. This is really good training for all of you. How many hire or how many of you? None of us. Okay. Yeah, so we'll dig into that. But it all fits together. So James, the idea is to be able to recommend people as well. Hey, why don't you reach out to so-and-so, whoever it might be, reach out because you guys are I mean, what I've noticed about Winco, if I were to recommend it, because I've had the blessing to be able to train a lot of people in Winco, is I get the impression you guys like to work there because, what's the gal's name at the front desk? Holly. So Holly grew up here, went to Boise High. Her dad went to Bora. I mean, she's telling me all the story, how long she's worked here, all the things that go on. And Holly goes, oh, I love working here. How long have you been here? I think it was 21 years. I think that was the number. It's either 17 or 21. But typically now the irony is in HR, how long have you worked here? And this one gal goes, this is my second day on the job. So there's all sorts of, but that's kind of my feel. Well, let me just kind of do a quick check-in. Seth, how long have you worked for Winco? 8 years. Dustin? 15. Michael? 8. So you kind of see, does anybody have more than that? How many are you? Okay, so 25. That being said, it's a pretty good place to, I assume, you don't go, I lost a bet. 1 more year and my indentured servant will be done, okay? I'm hoping that's not the case, okay? So you're encouraging people to come, and I think Val told me at last check there's 19,300 employees. Does that ring a bell? So, yeah. It's funny, Val's very specific, right? 19,331. Well, there's only 330 today. Just kidding, but all right. So, Wendy, it's important for you also to think about, why do they want to work for you? Because when you're recruiting, you've got to find that right person. But remember, I used the word recruiting. There's a difference between hiring and recruiting. So think about all the kids in the Valley want to go play at Boise State. That's not recruiting. Recruiting is trying to figure out how to get, and I don't know if you're a sports fan or not, but I'm just using this guy's name, Tanner Mangum. He was the best quarterback in the nation. Tanner went to go play for BYU, which is great, but Boise State was recruiting him. Conversely, there's another kid that wants to be a walk-on. That's different, a walk-on versus a recruit. You're recruiting. You're not going after, hey, are you guys hiring? I could sure use a job. You guys need a motivational speaker? I'd be really good. Okay? Versus, hey, we'd like Dave to come in. Why would we want him to come in? We did take the Marlin down. Okay, so the Marlin's not on the wall anymore. I guarantee you go in there now, there'll be some pads on the corner. It's, imagine training HR and you run into that thing and fall. It's okay, it's just a little cut. Where's Mr. Winco? No, just kidding, all right? So think those things through as you look at that. Now the next question is going to be, what personality am I looking for in my department? It's kind of interesting. Let's think about this in, let's just use dispatch, Curtis. So what would you say is important in dispatch? Now, each personality is important, but if you were to say, hey, I need somebody that's really dominant, let me see what my next slide is here. Okay, so I need somebody that's dominant. So I need that CEO or the sales or the visionary, the one that says, ready, fire, aim. Or rules are just a guideline for them. That's the dominant. The influencer, okay? They like to talk a lot. Hey, did you notice my new outfit? But at the same time, let's go back to Michael. Michael was some form of an influencer. Well, look where he was at. Front desk. Who do you guys have at the front desk? What the hell do you want? No, you don't have that person at the front desk. Oh, how are you, Dave? I remember you from somewhere. Okay, the steady. Okay, the steady. Think about Dustin. Dustin, what department are you in? Yeah, it's important. Dustin doesn't go, I'm going to try something. I'm going to give this a shot. He follows a certain policy, and then he also thinks about it. Okay, and then the compliance. It's not like they sort of follow rules. It's not like HR goes, we're going to allow harassment. We're going to call the month of October harassment month. Okay, you can get away with whatever you want. No, we follow rules and protocol all the time. So, Curtis, as you look at the wheel, what would you say as a dispatcher? We're just using this as an example. What would you say would be an important personality trait?
Honestly, it could fit a bunch of those.
Sure.
Like coordinator, persuader.
Mm-hmm. I think, and I'm just going to bounce this at you, the most important trait of a dispatcher is to listen. So when I hire dispatchers and I interview them, I'm always seeing what kind of questions they ask and if they're listening. And the easiest way at an interview, I find out if they're listening, I say, hey, what's my name? And I feel sorry for about 50%. Oh, crap. And that's right before they tell me what great listeners they are. Hey, what's my name? And remember, I do it on the phone, so there's no body language. And it's not to pull a shenanigan on them or anything like that. But if you're really listening to me, you better have the yellow pad and taking notes. So I feel like that's important. They still have to have a little bit of this, but not too much, because they'll drive these people crazy. And you have to think about typically what's the personality of your drivers. Is that who dispatch works with? So what typically, and I'm going to guess, they're either dominant or compliant. Your drivers. I don't know. I'm just going to guess. So if you've got a compliant and the guy's talkity talk, and you've got a dominant, hey, Seth, before I tell you what time it is, I'm going to build a watch. Seth doesn't want that. What time is it? Where am I supposed to be? So that's why it's so important for them to listen. But I think you're absolutely right. They got to have a little bit of all this. Okay, let's go over to Wendy, your department. Okay, now Wendy, remind me where you work. Okay, so it sounds like you're doing some hiring. Okay, so what's important in terms of, now when I hear receiving and pricing, I go way up here. Compliant. They don't go, bananas need to be 99 cents. These are too damn much. Now, for crying out loud, and you're going to start getting a discount, all right? I don't typically do that. So what would be important with their personalities?
One of the biggest things is that they're open to training and change.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So we want to steer away from the steadies. Okay, because the steady's biggest fear is change. So there's Wendy right there's a great discovery. So if I have them go through the assessment when I hire them, I have to make sure, now this particular person, so make sure you know in this case, don't worry about this adapted. We're just going to focus on this is how they are all the time. So this yellow line is an influencer. Okay, so this person talks all the time. I have no idea if they cheated on the assessment or what, but the steady's here, so I don't know how you can talk all the time and not show emotion, but they're kind of their motto is, if I don't try, I won't fail. That's kind of their motto. So this person would not be a candidate for that job, is all I'm telling you, because they do a lot of this and they hate change. All right, so as we look for a candidate, now remember, this probably, let me share this with you, this is probably Michael's personality. Just letting you guys know. So that's probably Michael's, because he's still going to follow some rules, not all of them. But Jeff, he's not going to be a take charge guy either. He's not going to grow into a manager. That's probably not the case. But that's something for you to think about. Now we're getting a little closer. We're getting a little closer in here. Okay, getting a little closer. This person I would probably recommend HR, maybe, because they can still have some form of discussion. But the biggest one is they follow rules. This would be accounting, those type of things. But it just kind of gives you a feel. So this person is what we would call high C or high S, but they're low D. So if you need them to kind of take charge, or there's a lot of conflict, and I'm talking about healthy conflict, not a boxing match, they're not a good fit, because conflict scares them to death. So let me ask you, So let's look at Dustin. Dustin, I'm guessing conflict's not your favorite thing. Okay. Seth, you don't mind a little conflict, do you? Hell no. Fact is, let's you and I have, but it's just personality types, but we have to make sure that we're aware of that. So Seth, you always have to make sure you know your body language when you're around Dustin. Conversely, when you're around Carolyn, it's important to say, Carolyn, where'd you get that Dutch Bro mug? That's awesome. I love that. Okay. Oh, Dutch Brothers. So she's a little more compliant. She's like, geez, dummy, what's your first clue? Here's your sign. All right. I'm Dutch and I have a brother and I'm from the dairy land, okay? We're working on that. So this is a good look at compliant. Again, this is just me personally, and part of it's because I train it and teach it, Michael, but I would never bring anybody in without at least taking an x-ray of them. Think about any athletic team. Before they bring somebody on, first thing they do is give them a physical. It's a form of a physical just to see. Now, let's pretend I needed a dominant, and this is the person that I'm going to hire. I need to know that up front. I need to know what I'm dealing with, because the hard part is, especially for influencers, they want to hire their friends despite what they see. Despite what they see, they're like, well, I'm going to hire them anyway. Okay? All right, here's a good dominant personality. So we're getting closer, but not too close on this one. So think about this dominant. This person, they sort of follow rules. This would be a good leader for a team. Influencer, they can still... The one thing you never have to wonder is how they feel about something. You always know where they stand. They'll let you know. And sometimes that can be bad. It depends on the environment. Some of the best leaders don't get too high. They don't get too low. Think about that. They're pretty steady. They don't get too high because a lot of times we as employees play off their emotion. All right, I can kind of see a little bit of a, let's take a mini break. I see some drifting going on. That's okay. I give you a chance. So why don't we plan on being back here at 25 after? So real quick check-in as you're taking off. Seth, what would something be you would take away just in these quick discussions that we've had in here? More of it's me finding out about you, but maybe something you go, yeah, that makes sense, or it doesn't make sense, or because Seth's the dominant, he's like, yeah, but let's hurry up and get the good part. What would your takeaway be to this point, Seth? Who's fancy hair? Okay. James, did you have a question? Oh, okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start just to keep us on schedule. I'm going to share, I just got this as an email. So here's my conundrum, Wendy. I've been using that word a lot. So I interviewed this lady last night to be a service manager for an automotive company. So she interviewed really well, and I purposely interview them on the phone first because there's no body language. So I'm not influenced one way or the other, and same on my end. They can't influence me one way or the other. I want to see if they're taking notes, those type of things. So when you find a woman to be a service writer, it's really important because our biggest fear in this industry is, and I can only ask you ladies, when you go into an automotive shop to get your car fixed, how do you feel? There you go. So now all of a sudden we have a woman at the front desk. This can really be, this has potential. So she interviewed really well. So now she just took the assessment, and this just, James, I'm going to have you close that door back there if you don't mind. So as I take the assessment, now remember, this is how she's going to be most of the time. So everything looks, she's steady, okay, and then in this case, influence. So she's about right here. But I need this because it's a sales position, and this is what's really hard, Dustin, because on the interview, I really liked her a lot, but that's why people hire me, is to tell them the bad news. And the interesting part is I asked her, I said, how do you like to buy? Now remember, these are sales questions. I'm going to ask clerks and everybody different questions, but I asked her how she likes to buy, and she says, well, I like to get under the car, and I'm looking at all, and it takes her a long time to make up her mind. Well, guess what she does with the customer? She presents so much information that the customer's so overwhelmed. Now, make sure you know this is not a commercial for this product, but this tells me a whole bunch of information, so I can look here and see how competitive she is, organized workplace, urgency. The report's going to tell me a whole bunch of stuff about her. Not a lot of this stuff is, in this particular case, is important, but this would be. So I can look at this and it says, hey, Brandy is family oriented. She may resist overnight traveling. Now, why would that be important in your business? So if you were to hire somebody and you read that, be family oriented and may resist overnight traveling. Why might that be a little bit of a challenge? I'm talking about for what you do.
Because, we have drivers that stay overnight on their runs, and, depending on what they take, they may have to.
Well, they're going to have to, I mean, unless they're doing what you said, turn and burn, but it's important we know this. Here's the one that jumps out at me. So that's, I just scratched that out. It doesn't affect what I'm trying to do because she's going to be a service writer. But one is that delivers long presentations and covering all the points at a slow pace. That's the mechanic's job. That's not her job. Okay? So those are things that it helps me understand. The bottom is no sense of urgency. So those are areas of improvement. This also tells time wasters, things that she may do. Here's a big one, resist change. Now remember, she was real high on steady. Now, nothing's wrong with steady. Make sure you know that just happens to be your shoe size. So you could be dominant. You're a size 9. You're steady. You're a size 10. You've got some influencer and some steady, 11. I mean, all it is, Curtis, it's just your shoe size. It's not good or bad. I guess I shouldn't say it. It's not bad. It's just your shoe size. But it's important for me to know because she's steady. If I put in a new sales system, that's not going to work for her. Or I have to be cognizant of how I'm going to train that to her and go across. And like I said, the only reason I'm sharing this report with you, it just came across to me. And then here's a couple other things that I'm going to glance at. It's an assessment is all it is. Yeah, they just answer a series of questions. Now this is one that Seth brought up. Well, how do I know how I look to others? Because in her mind, this is how she looks in her mind. So look at her self-perception, good-natured, good listener. Now here's for the most part how others perceive her as maybe hesitant, maybe unconcerned, maybe. And in stressful situations, she may seem stubborn or detached. I don't know. But that's classic steady. Because they'll do this, which is code for I'm never ever going to do that, but I'll nod my head up and down, okay? So she'll tell you a lot of what, and maybe that's what happened to me in the interview process. I don't know. Maybe she told me a lot because family's really important to her. Well, guess who lives in Boise? Her daughter, her 3 grandkids. She lives in Idaho Falls, and I should have picked up, but Curtis, I wasn't listening for what was not being said. She's so eager to move here that maybe I missed that in the interview. Okay, and again, none of this is bad. It just gives me a snapshot of it may not be the best way to best fit. So then I get here, how does she like to be communicated with? Now remember, these are questions you're going to ask, but what I would do in this case is I would sit her down and I'd say, Wendy, of these statements, which 3 are the best way to communicate with you? Now, because none of these came from your assessment, you're going to look at them and go, none of those things. Or some of you might go, oh, I love those. So she's going to tell me 3. She's going to say, I need solutions, not opinions. She's going to say, present to me softly, because conflict scares her to death. Now, that's going to be a problem in an automotive shop. I'm just telling you, facts are facts. Not based on the clients, some of the clients, but a lot of times the mechanics are dominants. Or if they're compliant, their biggest fear is, and it starts with C, it's criticism. So if a customer comes in and says, hey, Carolyn, Dustin didn't fix my car, he screwed up, and you go back, hey, Dustin, you didn't fix their car, you screwed up, they're going to blow up because it's criticism. That's what they hear. So it's important that we note that and then look at that. And then also it's important to know, what does she bring to the table? Okay, here's what she brings to the table. She's dedicated to her own ideas. So if it's her idea, she's going to see it through. She's a big thinker. She's loyal. This is pretty important. She told me probably 6 times in the interview, I've been doing this for 21 years. Now, Curtis, a great question when somebody says that 3 or 4 times. Here's a good question. You must be telling me that for a reason. Why did she want to tell me that? Well, this is why. I'm loyal. That was code for I'm loyal. Okay, builds good relationships, people-oriented and service-oriented. Now, that's pretty important to have those type of things. But those are things that I'm able to look at as we go through and see that. Now, let me share with you, and I don't know if these are going to be helpful or not, Wendy, but these are just a couple, and I'm letting you all know these are not good interviews, but these are some questions that typically I'm going to ask. Go ahead, James. Right. Well, yeah, in the interview process, yeah, yeah, assess all of us because what they're going, yeah. I think part of it would be reading their body language. Now you might go, well, how the heck do you do that? So one of the tools that I use is,
Well, I guess what I'm saying is,
yeah,
you can get what type of personality they are.
yeah, sure. What type of questions would you ask? Yeah. Then ask them dominant questions. Yeah. Well, I think a bigger thing for, oh, so are you talking about managing or hiring? Okay. So in the hiring, the question would be, what are you looking to hire? So let's just pretend in this case you want an influencer. My thing to you would be, well, why would you go to the dominant questions? They're not a fit. Same for this gal. It's killing me because when I interviewed her on the phone, fit, I take this x-ray and I go, probably not a fit. Probably not a fit. Now I'm going to go over this with the owner, but he's going to ask me for my advice and I'm going to say, yeah, she's so family oriented, so eager to please that she told me what I wanted to hear. And it sounded really good because sometimes when you're in need, and you guys know the job market, what's the unemployment rate? -3% or something? I mean, it's hard. Imagine I told you I work with that ESI, trying to get subs to come out and not walk off the job. I mean, that's a real big challenge. So, but I think you make a great point. So in what I would ask you to do, and we did this last time, is take your top 5 or 6 people you work with. So top 5 or 6, and if I were to say to you, and let's just go through the room, and you just kind of write these notes down. So Carolyn, what would you guess you would be? Would you guess you're more of an influencer, more steady, or compliant? Influencer. So just write down Carolyn, influencer. Wendy, what would you think you are? Dominant, compliant, or steady? Steady. So put Wendy steady. Seth, what would you guess you are? Dominant? Dominant, okay. So write Seth, dominant. Which one, what were you? Influencer. I got a steady. Who think of themselves as compliant? Okay. So we'll just use Dustin as compliant. Dustin, I think you're more steady influencer, but that's what we're going to use. Okay. So what's something that you have to, I hate to use bad news, but some form of bad news that you've got to share with this group of 4. So think about what you do in your job, okay, and what's something either you need done or something you don't really want to tell them, but you expect it to get done. What would that be? And go ahead and just speak out loud to me. What is it? What would be the task? Four hours of mandatory overtime. Okay. So your notes for the steady would be family's really important to the steady. Okay. So remind me who our steady is. So Wendy, so how are you going to share this news with Wendy? What's important for the steady? Now think about what I shared about Dustin. They need 3 choices. So if I were to say to Wendy, hey, Wendy, where do you want to go to lunch? I know what you're thinking. You know, you can either do it, get fired, or get written up. Which one do you want of the 3 choices, right? Okay? Yeah, that's what they're thinking, okay? So, again, back to what you said. I got to go to my little cheat sheet for how do I deal with Wendy. So we're going to give Wendy 3 options, and we're not going to call it mandatory. It's enhancement over time, okay? But remember, James, you asked me the question. Yeah. I'm not, make sure you know, you're right, but so what? You're right, but what makes you a great manager? Why do people love to work for you? Because you listen to them. Yeah. Now, what's going to be, now remind me what your personality style, what you guess you are. Compliant? Dominant influencer, okay. So guess what dominants are? They got to win, and my way or the highway. Yeah, absolutely, okay. So how are we going to tell? So in the 3 choices, it would be some version of your mandatory overtime. What would work best for you and your family? This time, or this time? You're going to have to spend some time thinking about it, but that's how you're going to build it. Now we're with our influencer. What do you love about her? She's always willing to work extra hours and to help out the team. So did you see how I positioned this? You know what I love about you, Carolyn? You're always ready to help the team and work extra hours. You see how I positioned that? Now, who's our compliant? You'll just you're not going to talk to him. You're going to email him. But do you see what I mean? There's no discussion. You're going to email it. It's going to be bullet point, and it's not going to be your feelings. It's the company facts. Okay, and how are you going to tell Seth? There you go. You're not even say, bro, get the damn thing done. But now remember, that's because you asked me. I'm not changing the Winco policy, but you said, Dave, is there a sheet you can go to? Yes. You should have a sheet on every single person because you want them to be the best that ever worked for you. Because you, Matt, like you said, well, Dave, you don't understand how it works. You're right, I don't. I don't understand how it works. But that's why we come here to get these tools to be able to do and understand how that is. Okay, we got a whole bunch of questions here. Steady. No. You, what were you? Influencer, yes. Okay.
So really, there's no choice.
Mm-hmm.
If I were working as a side work, how would you approach?
She wants to know okay, so she wants to know the why behind the what. Okay, so if you'll share with her the why behind the what, you're going to have to spend a little bit of time with that, okay? So as long as I know the why behind the what, not, well, let's go back to her. Let's go back to Barnes & Noble lady. Why did Barnes & Noble lady tell me she couldn't help me? It's company policy. You don't have a choice. Now tell me the why behind the what. So as long as I know why, I'm okay with it. But because I'm a dominant, I go, well, I'm going to write an article about you, and we're going to have a whole bunch of fun on my list. But that's me being a dominant. But if I know the why behind the what, in this case, that's going to be more helpful. Because remember, steadies aren't going to show any emotion. Wendy will go this, and then she'll go down to the Staples and work on her resume. Okay, or she'll tell all of her friends it sucks working for you, one or the other. But now you tell her the why behind the what. Remember, you don't have to tell Seth. Just tell Seth, get it done, and you're going to look at all the extra money you're going to make. Look at the cool boat, or whatever it is. I don't have any idea. Okay, now, did I answer your question, or did you? Okay. What was yours?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys don't allow people to perform. Right.
Yeah. You got like sometimes. I get what Dave's saying though. There's like we have a policy where okay, we need 20 hours of overtime. Bam, these 20 people are saying, whatever it is.
You don't have an opportunity to share anything with those
No,
individuals.
but Dave was trying to explain is if you have that opportunity, if you did have that opportunity, this is how you would approach it. Or what you've had to do in the past, and this is how it helped make a lot of sense, is you get on that speaker and you do that dominant, hey, you guys are staying, here's the end. And then people come up to you individually, hey, what's going on, this and that, and you have that chance to explain the what behind the why.
Yeah.
Because I always hear.
They go, okay, I guess I get it.
I always hear when I'm in the bathroom, on the loudspeaker, and call her individually, let them know
Yeah.
what they're going to be doing for their overtime. And a lot of times we'll have that conversation with that person. I can totally take
You
out
can't necessarily do each one of those.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to have one-on-one. Yeah.
When you talk to them in a one-on-one, those are sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
but here's your options for what you can do.
And I would encourage you to steer away from sorry. You're never sorry. I don't know how you feel, but I understand. Okay, so because sorry is a corporate. I'm sorry, you got to work. Now it is, Seth, I don't know how you feel, but I understand. So do you see how I position? I don't know how you feel, because remember, I'm not working this weekend, but I understand. Sorry sounds like this, okay? Fair enough. Now, Michael makes a great point. Yes, you're on the PA, but in your mind, if you just think to yourself, 41% of your workers are influencers, 20% are compliant, 20 are steady, and 16 are dominant. So 41% are just going to go, hey, if I work extra, will you love me? Yep, I love you. Beat it. But there's still going to be some in there that want to know the question. And again, I assume, Jeff, that's why you guys come to this class, is not, so we can certainly be problem identifiers. Yeah, you're on a PA and you don't have time. Okay, but Solution Finder looks at this. Hey, I typically know who's frustrated. Remember, don't be frustrated, be fascinated. But Wendy's probably going to ask me why I have to work overtime. And I've got to be patient enough to know as a dominant, don't ask me why. It's got to be, here's the why behind the what, and not I'm sorry. Those are important things. So excellent question how that goes, but that's what makes you good at what you do, is you are aware of the 20 drivers or the 50 drivers or whatever they are, however that works. Well, I don't have time. I spent, I don't know, I think it was an hour calling however many stores in Oregon, Idaho. I think I called some Utahs, just calling the store managers for Winco. And the biggest thing, when I asked them, I just said, hey, what do you like best about what we're doing in HR? And I said, and I want you to know how much I appreciate you. Now, remember the stats. 21%, am I in trouble? Why are you calling me? Another 22, but 41% of them, thank you, I love working for you too. And the dominants, are you done? I got to get back to work. Okay, but the whole point to that is, back to retaining, if you know how Wendy likes to be communicated with, and you know how Carolyn likes to be communicated with, they're going to run through a wall for you. No different than Seth ran through a wall for, what was his name? Don. I assume you did. You didn't go, well, I really like Don. I'm going to show up late. Whatever Don wants, that's what we're going to do. That's what it looks like. Okay? All right, let me play just a couple of these clips. And these are, it's not like I specifically grabbed these, but these are just common. Here I wrote, worst sales interview maybe ever. You know, first thing I asked is, what do you know about our company?
Yes, this is Logan.
Hey, it's me, Dave. I work at Allied Business Solutions. You'd sent me a resume for a sales position.
Yes, sir.
Do you still have an interest in that?
Absolutely.
All right. Remind me what you're doing now, Logan.
I'm a branch manager for Enterprise Rental Car.
Oh, outstanding. And real quick, if I were to recommend you as a salesperson to our owner, the sales manager, what would I tell him about you? So I would encourage you to write that question down. If I were to recommend you, so Wendy, in this case, you're moving really fast. You got a list of questions, and you're hiring. Remind me, in the all-call, typically, what's the role that they are? In the all-call, what's the job that you're interviewing for? Okay. Hey, if I were to recommend you to the owner, that's all I say. If I were to recommend you to the owner, what would I tell them about you? Because they've never been asked that question before. Now, here, typically, Dustin's the answer. Well, I work hard, I'm honest. Oh, darn, I wanted somebody that didn't work hard and was unethical. I want something that sounds something like this. Look, if I see paper on the ground, I pick it up. I don't mind working a couple of hours overtime. I've got a can-do attitude. I'm a solution finder, not a problem identifier. Now, depending on the level, they may not answer that, but in this particular case, I'm like, okay, the guy works at Enterprise, so I know in my mind they're well-trained. So far, so good. I'm not so sure he answered the question properly, but let's just have some fun. Dustin, if I were to recommend you to someone, what would I tell them about you? Now, what's important with Dustin when I ask him that question? Give him lots of space and time. So it's important when I ask the question, I just quiet down. So Dustin, if I were to recommend you to someone, what would I tell them about you? Okay. So even if we just stop him there, which I normally never would do, but did you hear the first part? I just had to let it be quiet and not react. That's why I do it on the phone, because now I don't, he can't think in a hurry and he's this. No, he wanted to give me the right answer, and it was a perfect answer. Attention to detail. Most people don't say that. You know, I do what I'm told. Sure you do, okay? But attention to detail, those little things. So you need to be thinking about what type of answers are you looking for? Because you're interviewing however many people, you got a 15-minute window, and now Dave wants me to throw in, if I were to recommend you to someone, what would I tell them? But that's going to tell you a lot about them, just by them going, that's a good question. That tells you, okay, they're steady, maybe they're thinking about it, or if they just talk, you know, those are things that you're looking for. Okay, we're always trying to find good questions to ask them, all right?
I am a go-getter, and I will make sure to reach any type of goals that I achieve. And I kind of set specific daily, weekly, monthly goals to overcome and achieve those goals. And I am
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, I'm kind of losing you on the phone there. Did you drift away from the phone, or did you move in a different area?
No.
There you go. Now I can hear you. Now say again, you set goals and you achieve them, or finish up there?
Oh, yeah. So I'm a person that kind of sets daily, weekly, monthly goals and try to hit those goals and even try to overachieve those. Very good at as a team player, but also have that capability of being in a management role, working one-on-one with employees to kind of better everybody else and kind of set specific sales goals and
Now, how many times has he said goals? Okay. So it's important that I know that a lot of his driver is going to be, and nothing's wrong with what he's saying, but a lot of his drivers is he's goal driven. So he could be dominant. That's probably what I'm going to figure out. But here in a minute, he's going to tell me he's not very good to detail, not very good to attention to detail. I think he is.
yes, this is Logan.
Hey, it's me. Great things about Enterprise. Why would you want to leave there and work for Allied Business Solutions?
I want to work with with Enterprise where I've been. It's kind of like a more specific clientele of just renting cars out for the most part. And I want to better myself with the training that I received and the types of abilities that I can do with a larger clientele and a business that I can.
Okay, now we got spoiler alert coming up here.
To grow with things. With the company, with Enterprise that I'm working at the moment, it's kind of at a standstill of where the current position.
And I must have a bad phone line, but that's okay.
The company that I can see that can grow, and I can help myself grow within the company as well.
And what do you know about Allied Business Solutions?
I haven't really done the research here just yet.
Yeah, do you know what we sell? Okay. Okay. So it started out pretty good, right? I'm goal oriented. I did this. What do you know about our company? So at the very least, I'm hoping that they Googled the Winco. Have you ever bought groceries here before? I mean, it's pretty basic stuff. I mean, you guys might look, but you'd be amazed at the number of these interviews that I have. Hey, what do you know about our company? Well, nothing. Did they take Google off your computer? You know, what is it that they did that looks at? So again, you've got to spend the time. I always ask the question, what are you reading? What are you reading? Now, it's a little, but that tells me, are they true learner, Wendy? If they're not reading or they're not listening to stuff, how on earth are you going to be able to train them because they're not really interested in that? And here's another spoiler alert. Most of us don't read, but we should read. We should keep up. And I'm not talking about Facebook either. Okay? All right. So number one, the system I use is DISC, D-I-S-C. All right. There's free ones. There's one you can use my system, whatever it is. But I like to use that even if you guys just have, I think it's important I hire an influencer for this job. I think it's important I hire a compliant. So Dustin would be a good example of a compliant. I have an attention to detail. Does this gentleman have an attention to detail that I just interviewed? No, but maybe he comes up as a high D and he's good at being a closer in the sales venue. I don't know. I lost him at not knowing what we sold. I'm like, you're not going to, you just, and I saved a whole bunch of time with him too, Seth. Yes, sir. It's printers, copiers, and M files. Okay. And that's why it's such a great question, because it would be, I mean, he would have had to do some kind of research. Okay, now remember, I do interviews for probably 50 different companies. And sometimes I'll be talking now, what do you like best about the Winco? I mean, ESI or what, and a lot of the companies I train for they have, OEC, ESI, they all have initials like that. But you brought up a great question. You're going to have to spend a couple of minutes of doing research. Where Winco, hopefully we should know, I mean, we had to walk into the store to do the interview, but a great question would be, when's the last time you shopped at Winco? What'd you notice about Winco? I would like to hire people that use my product. It's not a must, but it's probably pretty important. If you knew you were going to have an interview with Winco, wouldn't you, hey, when's the last time you drove an 18-wheeler? I thought I'd give it a shot. I don't have that CDL thing yet, but hell, I think I'd look good up there. Okay, he's probably not a fit. Hold on, let me try something. Okay, So now this can be two ways. This can be interview audio, but what I put here is ask great questions. Ask great questions. Don't make them up as you go. Now I do so many of these, I have a system. My first system is, Dustin, why on earth would you want to work for me? That's my first question. People go, well, why do you want to say that? Because I want to find out, are they serious about working for me? The only reason the enterprise guy did is he was mad at his boss. Well, I want a chance to move up. That's not a good reason to come work for me. Real quick, if I were to recommend you to someone, what would I tell them about you? Now, in the case of the lady in the sales, I built a scenario. So I said to her, so how do you like to buy? There's 3 Toyota Tundra trucks, 3 different dealerships. They're exactly the same. How do you go about buying? What is it? Because I want to find out how she buys, because that's how she's going to sell. But in the case of, I think you work, is it cashiers you work with? In the case of cashiers, I might say, what's your biggest frustration when you're checking out? So that would be a question. So let me ask you, Carolyn, what's your biggest frustration when you're checking out? Okay, and what do you do? What's your reminder to pay attention? How do you remember to pay attention? Yes. Okay, and so here's my question. Carolyn, what's your number one question when a customer's checking out? What's your favorite question to ask a customer? Okay, pretty simple. I mean, it's not real complex. I mean, kind of like this guy went above and beyond. I mean, this guy went above and beyond. But remember, you only have to be 10% better. How would you handle this situation? So, Carolyn, it's corporate policy. You're not to help me find a book. Fair enough. So let's act, all things being equal. How would you handle this situation? Or walk me. Imagine that, walk me. Okay, here's one. Now, this is really going to be tough for you. Hey, did you find everything you want? Well, that's too bad. But these are scenarios. Sure. But what is Carolyn going to discover by asking those questions? Hey, what's your favorite question to ask for bonding and rapport? Guess what mine is? It's this. Okay? I can tell a lot by whether you chewed your bubble gum, by whether you didn't chew your, it tells me a lot about personality type. But if I offered you candy, what might happen? What were we taught when we were little? There you go. But bubble gum, they're like, double bubble, and it's fresh. That tells me a lot. Or if it sits here and it doesn't move, I know a lot about the personality style. You see, she put it back in its spot. So I know not only is she an influencer, but she's compliant, all right? We like everything here and here. But that's what's important, is that you find out on interaction stuff. Now, my kids get mad at me. They're like, Dad, either you talk to everybody or everybody talks to you, but I'm always studying. So how do you get better at personality styles, James? How do you get better? At practice. And the best place to practice is at the Starbucks, in the Winco, any place you go, and just kind of have fun. Go, hey, I wonder what his personality is. I wonder what hers is. So when I go on my nightly walk, of course my family hates it because but I'm like, so I can tell, so if I go like this, they know it's compliant, because guess what the people do that walk by me? Okay? And if, hey, well, Jim, what are you up to? Oh, good, let me stop, blah, blah. But that's what I'm doing. So then when I'm at the workplace, I'm so good at what I do, people can't ignore it. And that's how you want to be. It's just second nature. Man, Caroline, I love that Dutch Bros. That's awesome. Hey, Wendy, would you like to go to lunch today? We could go to Wendy's, we could go to the Taco Bell, or we could go to Jakers. I'll come back in a minute and see where you'd like to go. But do you see how that is? It's not, now I'm going to really make him uptight. Hey, bro, what's going on? How's it going? How you doing? Why does he always have to touch me? I hate him. But do you see, I'm working on that constantly and I'm not an expert at it by any means, but think about if you could just get the 3 or 4 of your great guys and make them outstanding, look out. Because a lot of times we always focus on these 3 guys over here. It's like, oh my God, yeah. Take your great guys and make them outstanding. That really raises the level of the water. Okay, so ask great questions. All right, ask great questions. Now the next one I put venue. I like to interview people in different places. Now, Wendy, this may not work for you because you've got to interview them in the store, but it could be, in your case, a phone. Have somebody else take a look at them. I purposely have people hang out in the waiting room. When I say hang out, they might say, hey, Seth's here for his interview. Seth's here for his 11 o'clock interview. All right, I'm going to let Seth sit out in the waiting room for a while. Now, why am I going to do that, Carolyn? With who in particular? Who's at the front desk at Winco? What's her name? Holly. Holly's a pretty good measuring stick. So if Holly goes, God, that Seth, he was kind of, I didn't like him at all. Holly likes everybody. It's like that Life cereal commercial, you know. Let Holly likes everybody. I didn't like that, or whatever. Interacted, sat in those type of things. So I'm going to ask, and I'm always going to be observing. Enthusiasm's pretty important. Enthusiasm. Now, remember, I don't expect Dustin to be jumping up and down, but in Dustin's case, look how he dressed. He wore his red shirt. He's got his Winco. I mean, here's the secret to getting jobs. Show up 5 minutes early for your job, dress well, and ask great questions. You'll get hired every time. But you can't lead with, what the hell is Winco? Don't know much about it. I don't know what it is. So think about that. How do you get great people? How do you get people like Michael? Hire enthusiastic people that are excited to come to work. Now you might say, well, Dave, that's easy for you to say, but you also have to see in them what others can't. What do you see in them that others can't? Because I don't want to confuse somebody being quiet for not being outstanding intelligence and all that stuff. But I want to communicate with them how they want to be communicated. Just like you said, hey, all you piles, you got to drive 5 hours. Too bad. Okay, fair enough. But now I've got to be able to, because I specifically, Seth, I will send you an email on why. Wendy, here's the why between the what. Hey, I got you a new Dutch Bros mug for your overnighter. But do you see how I'm positioning that stuff, man? Now, sometimes it's, I don't want to work mandatory overtime. I got a 3-day weekend. We're going camping up in Montana. It's going to be a lot of fun. I got a smoke ventilator and everything. I bought a special one for this. So we want to be able to think about that, okay? So the disc, ask great questions if you can, a different venue, or have people around you observe. Hey, what'd you think about Dustin? What did you notice about? But make sure it's people that have an antennae so that they're paying attention to little things. Well, I don't know if you picked up what. Okay, good. Yes. Yeah, pick up the pairs. And sometimes I even have one as a listener and one as the question asker. So think that through as a strategy too, because remember, when we talk to people, think this through for all of you, because it happens to me in training all the time. When I'm talking, most people spend 90% of their time thinking about what they're going to say next. So here you are, your interview is talking. Guess what you're thinking about? The next question on your list. So my encouragement to you would be say, all right, so Carolyn, I want you to be the observer and I'm going to ask the questions. And just rotate it back and forth. Then all Carolyn has to do is observe and listen for things that aren't being said. You can focus on the question. And then just rotate that back and forth. Yeah. Oh, is it? Okay. I don't want to break any rules. Good news is I went to college with Val Davis, so I got a lot of stuff. Don't pull the HR card on me or I'll pull that, so. And I'm probably in trouble for saying that. She goes, Dave, you've got to quit talking about that. It was 30 years. Oh, I'm in trouble for saying how long it was. Okay. So a lot of this stuff doesn't necessarily work for you guys, but this is the system I use. Number one's on the phone, so I determine if they even fit through the, and the only reason I do it on the phone is to take away all the emotion. Sure it is. So one's on the phone. So they're going to send me a resume, and I'm not going to vet the resume. I'm going to have somebody else vet the resume. So then I'm going to ask them questions. Now, like you said, in your case, what's important? Now, do you interview drivers, or who would you interview? Warehouse, people that work in the warehouse? So what's important with them? Okay, so one, you got to be able to lift 50 pounds or more. Another one is, do you believe on showing up to work early and staying late? That's got to be important to you, okay? Do you just do what I tell you, or do you do a little bit more? Yeah, so a lot of questions might sound like, so I'm going to pretend like I'm interviewing Mr. Earl, okay? So I'm going to interview Mr. Earl for the job. So it might sound like this. Hey, Mr. Earl, where'd you grow up at? Southern Idaho. What town? Murtaugh. Murtaugh. Where the heck's that by? I see a sign that says Murtaugh. Where's that by? Oh, okay. Farming community? Okay, did you guys farm? Oh, tell me what you raised. Okay. Now, what have I discovered about this guy? Just asking a handful of questions. Well, I don't know that yet, but I'm working there. He was raised on a farm. Okay. Now, I know a lot of dairy kids that go to school with my daughter, and I'm like, oh, let's go out and see the dairy, and they have a 20,000 head dairy, and they've never been out there before. All they do is go to like Notre Dame games and stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute, when we were on the dairy, we didn't go to no games. Okay. So now I'm going to dig a little deeper. Dustin, this time of year, I see guys out bucking bales. Have you ever had to buck bales before? Really? You like doing that? Oh, fun exercise. All right. So notice how, and then we're going to work into other questions in that case. What's that? Yeah, fun exercise, absolutely. A little, I'm not sure if you're a fit for us, okay? Okay, so it just depends, but I want to be able to have some form of bonding and rapport to find out, can they work? Now, in Dustin's case, Dustin happens to be fairly quiet. I'm talking about our first interview, and I'm looking at your body language and stuff like that. But see, I'm not going to see his body language, and he's not going to see mine. So also, I'm not going to make him uncomfortable, but he's going to think out what his conversations. Then after I give him the DISC assessment, then I'll want to meet him face to face. Okay, I want to meet him face to face. Now, if I can, I would like to meet him at a Starbucks or somewhere else, because I want to see how he carries himself away from the office too. I want to see what that looks like. And in the case of, if I could say, hey, I'm going to a Hawks game or something like that. I don't know if the Hawks are still, but some version of that, what that would look like. Let's listen to one more of these, see if we got somebody that's a little better. Most of these people have no idea. This guy talks too much. Let's see what this candidate is. Motor or cars or something. Did you mean to send me a resume for copy machines and printers?
Well, I sell, right now I sell motorcycles, I sell cars, I can sell anything, I can pretty much sell pretty much ice and Eskimo if it has to be. I mean, I like to install, like, I can people like to chase. I'm just trying to, more than anything, to see what's out there for me. I want to progress and make more money in life, and so I just apply to different places to see what my choices are going to be. I never sold like copiers or printers or anything, but I'm pretty sure if I can sell a motorcycle, I can sell that.
So what do you notice about this guy right away, Curtis? What's the one thing that you notice about him? And think about tone and tempo.
He talks really fast. It's
Okay.
hard to catch some stuff.
Yeah, but I think right there, just even stop right there. It's not about the words, it's about how fast he talks. So my first thing is he talks way too fast. And anybody that says I can sell ice to Eskimos is not a good salesperson. Okay, so those are just things that I pick up. Boom, you might go, well, Dave, that's not. Well, I'm the one that's got to break the bad news to you. Because what would you rather me do? Say, hey, bring this candidate in and go from there. But there are important things that I might say. So let's pretend you're going to hire me, Curtis, as a dispatcher. Do you hire dispatchers? Who would you hire?
I don't hire anybody.
Okay, but what would be? Let's pretend you're hiring me as a dispatcher. So, Curtis, my first question to you would be, Curtis, let's pretend I'm your dispatcher. What are the 3 most important things you expect of me? So, again, I don't know if I'll get the job or not, Curtis, but if you were to hire me as dispatcher, what are the 3 most important things you'd expect me to do? See, now, who do I have thinking now? See, he's interviewing me, but who's thinking about he's like, oh, and what's he talking about? His favorite subject. Him. And I'm making him think about this because these are probably things that people don't. What are the three most important things? Hell, I don't even know what they are, and you're asking me. Now, but what would they be?
Dependability.
Okay, dependability.
Decision making. Your ability to make wise and correct decisions, especially in the heat of the moment when things can go south real quick. And probably communication skills.
Okay.
You're dealing with a lot of different people and vendors.
By the way, he's just created a job description for that position to be able to think that through. But then my next question would be to you. So I get the feeling, because this was your first one, Curtis, when you say dependability, have you had some problems with that in the past?
Not necessarily. Just being able to, if I'm not there or somebody else isn't there, just knowing that we can rely on you to get the job done that needs to be done.
Okay, so that's clearing up. But you want to see what kind of questions, what they're involved with in the questions, just like this particular guy. If they start going on and answering questions you didn't even ask, that's not always necessarily a fit on there. So keep that in mind, and then also ask yourself the question, let's pretend I hired this person. Let's pretend I hired them. What are the three most important things that they do? And as you said, Curtis, number one is dependability. Now to me, my first reaction was, well, I'll show up 5 minutes before work. That wasn't really what you meant. What you meant is when I'm not there, I need you to step up and be in the hot seat. Communication, that's a big one, Jeff, because a lot of times we'll say communication, well, what's that mean? So really define what that means. Okay, define what that means. Okay, now we've hired them. And now what do we do? Okay, you're hired, now what happens? Well, we got a very good training program. Goodbye. Okay. So keep this in mind. 75% of the people that you want to keep, 75% of them just want to be told thank you and you're doing a good job. Here's another exercise. I think we talked about this last time, but I really want to reinforce it. So let me ask the question. Curtis, when you're doing well, when you've done a good job, which you're always doing a good job, but how do you like to be recognized? How do you like to be rewarded? What's important for you to feel like, hey, the company appreciates me? How do you like to be rewarded?
Probably just verbal, just pat on the back, say, hey, good job with, such and such, or, whatever.
Okay.
I mean, I have gotten, monetary rewards in the past, which are good, but for me, I think just that verbal recognition of they see it and they're letting me know, that they appreciate it or that I did a good job.
And has your manager or supervisor ever asked you that question? Hey, how do you like to be rewarded?
No, never really.
And when was the last time you got quotes, I'm looking you in the eye, a pat on the back, and Curtis, I love what you're doing? When's the last time? Not monetary, not an email.
Probably a couple months ago.
Okay.
Like too long.
All right. So it's just a good reminder to all of you. And I don't know, Curtis, other than I see you about every couple of months, but I'm impressed with you. I know you have knowledge. I know you're a smart guy. You seem like somebody I would want to keep. Okay, you seem like somebody. So hopefully you're all hearing this. Are you letting Curtis know that you love him and patting him on the back? Because 75% of the ones you want to keep. Did you hear what he said? Monetary's fine, but guess what I want? A pat on the back, thank you. And how hard is that and what's it cost the company? Nothing. When's the last time the company, and I think he's being nice, I'm thinking you probably can't remember the last time. This isn't a criticism of Winco, by the way. It's just to remind all of you, and even in this case, Curtis, where you're kind of a team leader and you oversee, it's important you ask the people around you, because I can look you in the eye and say, Curtis, for Winco, because today Winco's hired me I'm only working for him for another half hour, but I worked for him last week. Thank you, and I appreciate that you're coming to this class to be better for the company. So good job and thank you. Thank you very much. But it's important also that we do that in our company. So let's kind of come around here. I'm going to come closer to you, and I'm going to ask the question, Lola, how do you like to be recognized or rewarded or maybe motivated? I don't know. What do you prefer? Okay. So did you hear it's still a little different? Hers is thank you. His is pat on the back. You got to keep notes and see what that looks like. Thank you and pat on the back. And whenever you have somebody that says to you, well, I don't need no pat on the back, that's cool. Yeah, you do. Yes, you do. Now remember who we're talking about. These are the ones we like to keep. Jeff, I'm going to be curious. How do you like to be told thank you or we appreciate you? Mm-hmm. That's fine. What would be great? Okay. So we can't do that, Jeff. We can't do that. Jeff, do you remember when somebody did something really special for you that made you feel special, or something at work? What was it? Well, I want you to think about it for a minute. I'll come back to you, okay? Seth, how about for you? How do you like to be recognized, rewarded, appreciated? Okay? But isn't it important that we go around and ask our employees this? And who are we going to have to dig the deepest on? Seth? Going to have to dig, because really, if his biggest fear is being taken advantage of and he has to win, we better get to know Seth. We better find out what makes him tick. Because remember, I can't motivate Seth, but I can find out what motivates him. And I might have to bring Seth in. And Seth, it sounds like this. Look, you and I are a lot alike. We like to kick butt and get things done. Hey, you got any ideas for Jeff? What do you think would motivate Jeff? What would be special? What would be really cool for him? And we'd do, man, you're awesome. Man, you're awesome. Hey, what about Wendy? You know, she's kind of quiet and sits in the front, but I want to do something really cool for her. You know, and we'd go through the, well, Seth, what's something that'd be cool to you? What'd be something cool? What's that, a Puma or Puma? What's on your shirt? Are you a golfer? Are you? Wow, where do you like to play golf at? Boise Ranch. That's my favorite place. You know why I like Boise Ranch? Because no matter where you hit it, you can find it. It's awesome. I love Boise Ranch. But what have we discovered by having that conversation? And even just for a minute, I saw the eye when I went, you like to play golf? Yeah. How'd you know? I have ESPN. I can read your mind. Okay. So let's go back to Jeff. Jeff, were you able to think of anything? Yeah. When's your birthday? Okay. So if I'm his manager, what's important I know? When your birthday is. And by the way, I'm not taking you out to dinner. How cool would it be for you to take your kids out to dinner? Where'd you go? Okay. Pretty simple stuff, but if we don't spend the time, and remember what I'm focusing on here, is the ones, now I'm not saying everybody else can go to heck, but you guys in here, we're talking about how we motivate everybody and say, hey, Carolyn, how do you like to be appreciated, or how do you like to be motivated? Okay. When was the last time you were verbally told you did a good job?
I get told frequently from my cashiers, but not from my management.
wow. I mean, aren't we discovering a little bit here? It's like, but back to what Seth said, I'm okay. There's iron around me. But it's important we coach our managers up, because I want you to write this down. How do I coach my manager to be the best manager that's ever worked for me? Because Carolyn, I bet, and make sure you know I'm not going to share this, but I bet if your manager knew that, it'd be some version, oh, I can't believe I forgot. Carolyn's the most important. I can't believe that. So we got to coach them up. Okay. But steadies, again, remember, they want family. And who's part of the family? They think of you as part of the family. So how do we take care of the family? So it's important that we know it. And by the way, make sure you know you're all important. The company appreciates you. But it sure is nice, Curtis, occasionally to get, hey, great work, Curtis. I really appreciate you. Hey, Seth, I don't know if these say Pro V1 or something on them. I found a box of them. I want to give them to you. Hey, happy birthday, Jeff. I want you to be able to take your kids to the Roadhouse. And we can't do that every single day, but like we said, what was the easiest thing to do for Curtis? Good job. Thank you. All right? So I want you to think about your team members, your top team members that work with you. What would be your training and coaching plan for them? So now, right now, you've got some version of how do you like to be motivated? So that's pretty simple. How do you like to be managed? How do you like to be corrected? Appreciation. Michael, how do you like to be appreciated? Okay. So, Michael, I want to tell you, I appreciate that you came in early today, and I saw you had that little slide up with, I think it was stress, how to deal with stress. And I saw the number one said, go to bed early. But I want you to know, I appreciate, because that's probably not your most comfortable role coming in and doing presentations for people. That's probably not what you do all the time. But I appreciate that you did that. Thank you for doing that. It's important we find out how people want, and then we dig a little deeper than just allow, because remember what Seth said. What's he need? Nothing. You didn't say it like that. I'm just pretending. Nothing. But we got to spend a little, right, he knows what it is, well, but he also knows what he wants to be appreciated. He just is like, well, I don't need no stinking pat on the back. But if we spend a little bit of time and find out, because remember this, and you guys have heard me say, this is my motto, it's not what you say, it's how you make people feel. It's not what you say, it's not what I say to Caroline, it's how I make her feel. So Caroline, I'm saying this for your boss, I can tell that your cashiers are the luckiest people in the world. I can tell that. I can just see that in your eyes that you're number one. I want my cashiers to be happy. Damn, sometimes they frustrate me, but I love them. So I'm telling you that, and it's about how you feel. Because where do you spend 90% of your time? The damn Winco, right? So, you know, it's important that we know those type of things, all right? So how do you like to be motivated? Now remember, motivated and appreciated are two different things. They're two different things. Okay? Help them find the vision. Help them find the vision. Sometimes that's not easy, but a great question is, hey, if you could do anything you want, what would that be? What is it if you could do anything you want? In some cases, maybe the drivers, hey, have you ever thought about going back to school? What is it that you can help them with? And that's what's really cool about Winco. And I can just speak to Val because I'm trying to think where she went to work out of school. I can't remember if it was HP or wherever. But anyhow, she ended up and I just see all the classes and all the books and all the stuff she's trying to make it a better place for you guys. I mean, that's always her, hey, Dave, what do you think my team would think of Simon Sinek? And how can we be so HR feels like it's, they're not a bad thing. And when we have the company barbecue, how can we bring everybody, that type of stuff. So I look at it, how do you help people find vision? And here's the one I want you to ask this question. Am I a supervisor or am I a mentor? So supervisor does this, Dustin. It's 11:28. Got 2 minutes till we start. A mentor says, Dustin, is everything okay? That's not like you to come in at 11:28. Is everything okay? I can just tell by the look on your face, it's not okay. Oh, my bad. Well, Dustin, that's okay. What can I do to help you? Do I need to call you in the morning? What is it? And it goes back to what Seth said, is if I can find that person that matches my personality, go from there. So just take a minute here and put down. Now you might say, hey, I don't manage anybody. Well, there must be people around you, and we're talking about the top 5 or 6, that even if you do something, Carolyn, as simple as I said today, ask a couple of your checkers. Go ahead, if you guys need to go, it's okay. Okay, because I got 13 and a half more minutes. No, I'm teasing you. But I am letting you guys know if you need to bolt, that's okay. I won't feel bad, and I'll only make one joke on your way out. So go ahead and put those people down. So even if you, quote, don't manage anybody, who are the 4 or 5 people around you? And I would also challenge you to put somebody that's a little bit of a challenge, maybe, a little bit of a rascal. Okay, that's okay. What's my biggest challenge with Seth? Well, he needs more training and coaching, whatever that might be. Okay, what are some of those people? Put them down. Who's around you? And then also take the snapshot of yourself like we showed of, see if I still have it. Remember when I showed the gal how she's perceived? So how is she perceived? How does she think she looks? I mean, I think, Seth, you made an excellent point. I've got to be more aware of my surroundings. Now, that's what I discover in the disc is, Dave stirs the pot a lot. Okay, well, I'm aware of that. And he knows how others perceive him, but he doesn't care. Well, now I've got to be cognizant of that. I've got to go, okay, I care a little bit more, maybe. Okay, but that's what I'm being cognizant. I can still be the pot stirrer, because I believe if you don't have a pot stirrer, the bottom gets burnt and the top gets stale, so you still need a pot stirrer, but I got to make sure that I don't spill it all over the place. So that's part of what I'm working on, is to be cognizant of that. Okay. So go ahead and notch down, what's the one thing, grab 2 or 3 people on that list, what's the one thing I'm going to do? What's the one action step I'm going to take on? And it might be, I don't know, James, kind of like what you said earlier, it might be, how am I going to make my next, and do you make that announcement on the PA? Okay, so let's go ahead and just announce that let me hear how it sounds. Typically, we got mandatory or overtime. Let me hear how that sounds. Okay, and then you might think to yourself, yeah. So then you might think to yourself, so how does a dominant say it? How would an influencer say it? How would a steady and a compliant say it? So just practice that. I mean, what's the best way to practice? So today you're a steady. Attention all employees of Winco. We've decided we're going to enhance our program this week. I'm expecting you to do X, Y, and Z for the family, up to employees 1,000. The compliant. Hey guys, I love how hard you've worked for me this week. I loved how hard you've worked for me this week. I'm going to ask you to do such and such. Okay? I'm going to ask you to do such and such. Now, there's going to be the heckler. Is that mandatory? Yes. Okay? All right, but what are we doing? We're practicing to become better. And they're like, I like him better when he's an influencer on the PA. I like it better when he's not. I don't have any idea, but you should know who your guys are. Who are they? Who are the guys you can depend on when they're going up to Coeur d'Alene? You don't have to worry about them stopping in Worley at the casino. Okay? I mean, I'm just bouncing that kind of stuff. And now you've got great questions. Wendy's going to say, hey, if I were to recommend you, and now you got Carolyn as a listener and taking notes. Hey, what'd you think? Hey, did you notice this? Oh, I didn't even notice that. Or they'd be a great piece. See how that works, okay? And then the other one, am I a supervisor or am I a mentor? As we look through that. Okay, here's a couple of things. Now, a lot of you aren't necessarily, well, I guess you are hiring, but I always encourage you on this last part is to look at these questions. What does my bench look like? Are you always recruiting? Well, I hope so. Are your best players recruiting for you? I mean, especially in the driver world. Does anybody hire drivers in here or no? Okay. So the driver world's a big one because there's going to be a huge shortage if there isn't already. This is important. Did you do this? A, B, C. Up, down, neutral. What does that look like? A, B, C, up, down, neutral. What are you doing with your top 10%? Because you remember, Curtis, your top 10%, if you give them training and coaching, they're going to grow 50% more. Your bottom 10%, there's a lot of stuff you're going to do, nothing's going to happen. But you have to be aware of that, what that looks like. Because typically, who do we spend most of our brain power on? That's just the way it is. You know, oh, Michael, man, he's sure been a struggle. I wished he'd wear a shirt with his name on it, but I'm going to try to figure out how to fix that. You know, versus, hey, Dustin always has his shirt with his name on. Let's buy him 10 more shirts. Because that's really what we should do, is buy Dustin 10 more shirts, because what will he do with those? Where are you looking for talent? And then the bottom one is who is coaching, training, and the big one's motivating. Who's doing that? Who's coaching, training, and motivating? Who does that, and what's the program? Because let's go back to this. And I think you have that slide, and if you don't, I'll come back to it. But you're hired, now what? So who in here, I guess you hire, right, Wendy? So I think of hire. So Wendy, let's pretend you hired me. Okay, so what's my job going to be? Pricing. So what's my first day look like? Okay, what's my first day look like? What does my first week look like? What does week 3? That's important that I know what all that looks like, because a lot of times we just make it up as we go. We make that up as I go. So Wendy, in an ideal world, so let's think this through. In an ideal world, I like to know day 1, week 3, month, the first month, second month, 6 all the way to a year. I want to know, because especially, has anybody heard of millennials before? Anybody heard of those? Okay. Guess what? And I heard they're coming into our work world. Okay. Now there's one way to react to it. Go, that makes me mad. Or the other is, well, I better embrace it, because by 2022, they're going to be our boss. So we better embrace it. They want instant feedback. They want instant feedback. So it's important that we look at this and we're able to tell them, day 1, week 3, the end of the month, 60, 90, here's what's going to happen. Okay? Now, I don't know, you guys probably don't. Do you have business cards at Winco, nameplates? Now, some of you do, but I like to have them. I like to have them the day they come in. Training, don't make it up as you go. So, Wendy, help me understand. Do you have a card? Oh, it's your your name tag. Okay. So, Wendy, walk me through my first day. So I'm in pricing, is that right?
That is correct. Usually we let them know where the pricing office is located in that particular store. Who they're going to work side by side with that day.
Now I heard the word usually. Did you guys hear that?
That's the Winco way.
Okay. But it no longer is it Wendy's way. Okay. So usually, maybe could you walk me over there the first day, or do you have time?
Normally I'm not personally present on their first day.
Okay. So it's important you let me know that, right? I will not be there on the first day. So the first person you're going to meet is someone we call our director of first impressions. Her name is Holly. Is that correct? Is that the first person I'm going to meet?
No.
Okay, so I won't meet her. So where am I going?
You're going to the pricing office, which is located here at this store, and you're going to meet with Becky.
Okay. Now, does Becky know I'm coming, or will it just be some version? Okay.
She knows you're coming and she has your handbook ready.
Oh, my handbook. I can't wait. Okay. Okay, now what's a win? What would be a win that I could get beyond my handbook? How can I feel like my first day, it was good? I'm looking forward to it. What would be a win my first day? This is good, guys. We're ground floor here today. Okay? So think about that. Each one of you, I want to ask a question. In your line of work, what's a win? So let's say I start as a checker. What's a win for me?
Yeah.
Okay.
That you graduated to checking on your own after being mentored.
Yeah, I was going to say do some version of I'm able to, and I don't know this, but Wendy, I want you to think about what's a win, because remember, depending on my personality, I'm scared to death. I'm going to be probably a steady compliant because you hire a lot of people that are like you. I mean, that's just typically what we do. We hire people that are like us. So I'm going in and who am I asking for? And what if Becky's an influencer? Hey, welcome. Okay, it's going to scare me to death. Okay, but I got to act like, oh, hi, how are you? So Becky's an influencer. I want you to know that, because we need to know what to expect. Because what if Becky gives me a big hug and tells me, hey, why? And I don't have any idea. But I heard you both go, oh, yeah, Becky. We call her Rebecca for long. So we want to make sure that we're aware of what's going on with that, okay? So day one, what might be my win? Besides I get my handbook and go get them, kid. I mean, can I price something? Do I get a little gun that I get to... Okay, so maybe that's my win. I don't have any idea. Do you ever check in on them? Okay. So I might, if you have time. Now remember, I realize there's, what did I say, 18,300 workers? 19,000. I realize there's that many. Oh, down to, okay. Yeah, I got to be careful. So that being said, Wendy, if you had time and you could drop them either a text or a call, hey, how's your first day going? There's your win. Wow. Remember the unexpected surprise. Wendy, the gal that hired, hey, how's your day going? Remember, it doesn't have to be too complex. How do I make Curtis feel like $1 million without spending a dime?
High five.
Well, no, I didn't want a high five once back. But how do I make Lola feel like $1 million? Thank you. See, remember, it's completely different. So I've got to match that, and I can't confuse it. Hey, Dustin, give me a hug. I love you. Whoops, my bad. Who was I supposed to give a hug? Oh, yeah, it was on. And then Seth gives me a black eye. That's not going to work. Then we both have to go up and see Val, okay? We don't want that, okay? Although, Val, remember, and that, no, I'm just kidding. Okay. Expectations. This is a big one. What are your expectations on day one? What are they on day two? What does that look like? Think about your dispatcher. Does he know this? Remind me his first name. Marco. Marco, do you know my biggest fear is dependability? Decision making, wise decisions in the heat of the moment. So now I'm going to ask you the question, what's the heat of the moment look like? What does that mean? So walk me through the heat of the moment.
Basically when he kind of had a taste of this the other day when he was first training, and he was like excited because he got to, see how we dealt with, this problem. We're like, oh yeah, that'll pass quickly enough. But basically the heat of the moment was we had a carrier that delivers loads for us.
Yeah.
They missed a stop. They were supposed to stop at a store, deliver, continue on to their next stop. They totally bypassed the first stop, went to the final destination, and so then we had to come up with a plan of how are we going to get that product down to that first stop.
Yeah.
So
how are we going to get the Listerine to Lewiston, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And so we had to make phone calls to.
So there's a great example. Guy misses a truck. What does that look like? And then the last one, communication skills. How do you like to communicate? What's important for our guys? So make sure they're aware of that, okay? So we're coming up here. I want to make sure before you two guys leave, I only got 32 seconds. Jeff, what would your takeaway be? Because remember, I've shared this with you before, training without implementations, entertainment. Well, I got a piece of bubble gum and hopefully I'll get to go to Texas Roadhouse. But with implementation, it becomes education. So what would be one thing you would take away or potentially one action step? Because I probably didn't help you too much about being outspoken other than saying, hey, it's none of your business what other people think about you. It's only your business what you think about you. So as much as I'd like to be the Wizard of Oz and say, hey, here's the armor, I can't wear it for you, but maybe think of a small risk. But what would your takeaway be today? Yeah. And how do you come across? How do you think you come across? What would your personality? And I'm talking about, remember, body language is 64% of communication.
I'm one that really doesn't like conflict,
Yeah.
but I try to come across direct.
Yeah. So the irony is you don't like conflict, but your body language says, uh-oh, I got Paul Bunyan coming in with an axe. Okay, so be cognizant of open body, because the irony is you don't like conflict. However, it might seem that way. So just be aware of that body language, because I think that's where your conundrum is. Hey, I want it. There's that word again. Hey, I want to speak up, but I don't want to. So, look at yourself and say, hey, I am bold, I am brave, and I can do that. All right, Michael?
The tools to lead relationships at least as good as
And what were those?
how to identify personalities and interact.
Okay, so what would be the one personality that would be the biggest challenge for you? Compliant? Okay, so what do you have to work on with compliance? Okay, and trust me, you can't understand them. Okay, how do they like to communicate? Okay, email, bullet points, focus on facts, not feelings. Okay, all right, take off, you guys. I appreciate your time. Not the rest of you. So we're at that place of wrap up. So there'll be a couple of things that go on. If you have any questions, you want to pop those up. Let's hit those. But the other thing is I want to know what your takeaway is. So just spend a minute here, write your top 3, just write them down. So my number 1 takeaway was my greatest strength is my greatest weakness. However, my greatest weakness is my greatest strength. My number 2 is how do you like to be motivated? And my number 3 might be if I were to recommend you to someone, what would I tell this? So just write your top 3. What were your top 3 takeaways? And then last but not least, I'll just come around and say, hey, what's number 1? What's number 1? Barb's going to come in and pass out, I guess it's my grade sheet. If I get a good grade, you get more bubble gum. If not, that's the end of it. So. Barb, who is it that, how do you determine who's going to do the follow-up for the next training next month? I can't just pick somebody?
I'll ask for volunteers first, and then if you don't volunteer, then Dave will pick. How's that? How's that? Does anybody want to volunteer? Everybody looking at their paper? Yeah, it'll be the.
This is when they do the, which one? Here?
Yeah, it'll be October 5th.
This is when they do, we got shipping that day. I won't be here. There you go. So who's doing it? Oh, Dustin? Okay, that's the irony. I was going to pick Dustin. So there you go.
We're on the same wavelength.
Absolutely. I knew we were.
I will shoot you a reminder email a couple weeks out, and then if there's anything you want from the slide presentation, or from the workbook.
How you guys doing on that list of 3? I don't know. You have to write it down. Of your 3, I mean,
3 greatest takeaways.
yeah, 3 greatest takeaways. And I don't know if they're greatest, but Seth, you kind of tune in and out, so yours is going to be, oh, I remember this or I remember that. Probably in your case it'd be, what's my number 1? So yours would be, hey, what's the one thing? So what would that be, Seth?
My number 1 takeaway?
Yeah, your number 1, this is what I'm going to work on, or this is my action step.
Exactly what you said. My greatest strength is my greatest weakness, and my greatest weakness is my greatest.
Okay, so what would that quote, and let's change it from weakness to opportunity. What's that opportunity for you?
That opportunity for me is to basically take the other 3 personality styles and mold myself into those a little bit better.
Okay.
Understand how my communication
Okay? Think of it not to mold, but to stretch. So I don't want you to mold, but I want you, so when you're over with Carolyn, you might notice she's got the Dutch Bros. When you're with Wendy's, you might notice I got to give her three choices. I don't want you to change, but also think of it as a golf game. Typically, if you practice most at, what's going to give you the most benefit? Using your driver, because remember, you like to use the driver, but what have you always been told that will help your game the most? What part of it? Okay. Yeah, well, the short game. Yeah. It's like, well, what do I, yeah, and you're like, oh, screw the short game. I just want to get up there and hit the son of a bee. But that would be some version of the short game. Okay? Carolyn, how about for you?
Identifying my strongest people, encouraging my neutrals.
Okay? Yeah, and your neutrals might be some version of how do you like to be motivated? But you're going to have to determine their personalities. Yeah. But again, beyond motivated, but how do you want to, see, remember it's different. How do you want to be recognized, but the other one's motivated? Because I need to push those arrows up. So if they're dominant, you're showing them how to win. If they're influencers, that's what I love about you. You get people through really fast. You ask them great questions. Your steadies, what are the, on the compliance? Email them. All right? Curtis, how about for you?
I put, asking the question if I were to recommend you to the owner or to my, supervisor or whoever, what would I tell them about you, because, working in dispatch, I've got people asking, for hiring drivers.
Yeah,
or,
yeah.
Stuff like that. So if we are, and that comes up, that would be a great opportunity to
Yeah.
ask that question.
And think about answers now you're looking for. So I would say, well, Curtis, I'm dependable. Hey, when the kitchen gets hot, that's when I'm the coolest, and I'm the guru of communication. I mean, immediately now you're like, oh, let me take you into the HR office or wherever, whatever office it would be. What was yours today? By the way, I love that your cup matches your blouse. Yeah, probably didn't even know that.
My number one takeaway is learning the personality traits of my team members so that I can adapt my style of management to their way of learning.
Okay, and what is your personality type?
I am a compliant.
Yeah, that would be my guess. So more compliant, but then also an influencer. So sometimes, and this is going to be hard for you, you're going to have to trust down here, not here. So as compliant, it's all about here, but in some cases, you're going to have to trust down here. Well, I think they're, okay, go from there. And then just start little pieces. So pick 3 people. So you can either pick your top 3 or your middle, whatever that is. What was yours? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, what's a win for them? Yeah. But remember how we did even here with Wendy, all she's going to do is say, hey, how'd your first day go? So maybe it's for you to go to them face to face and just say, hey, how'd your first day go? Can I help you move the box or whatever it is? And then think about the other piece I told you, the why behind the what. Why do I have to work overtime? Now, that's not with everybody, but some of them. All right, Dustin, how about for you today? Yeah, excellent takeaway. I've never thought of that before. Because part of that, it's recruiting. Because you have to be attractive to them, too. But by matching, asking great questions, enthusiasm. Remember the Dave system, the DISC, ask great questions, okay? Different venues, and then how do we get Michael to work for us? We hire happy people. Now, hey, I'm going to hire grumpy people and hope I can make them happy. That's not going to work. All right, Wendy, the best for last, however you want to approach that. What is yours today?
I really appreciate the additional interview tools that you said you're going to really help out during mass hire.
What would be one that you're gonna put on there? One of the tools that you might use. And remember what I said, when you do it in teams, one listens, one talks. And Barb, I don't think I'm breaking a protocol here, but if you need to reach out to me, number one is call Barb and say, hey, Barb, I'd like to reach out to Dave. And then also you can go to my website in terms of any blogs that I put on there or anything like that. But I just want to make sure, you know, through LeapFox, we work for you. So we work for you at Winco, and it's important that, you know, hey, there was something I missed or something that so if it's something easy, you want to call Barb and say, hey, Barb, can I make a couple of minutes with Dave? Or can you relay this to her? Relay this to Dave? And then if you just want to see some of the pieces we do, you can grab it. So I think it's just after tabbed after my book, Dialing Strangers. All right, Wendy and Carolyn, I appreciate you two so much. Thank you. Curtis, great job. Dustin, I'm not going to talk to you. Lola, thank you so much. Seth, you win. James, thanks for coming in. And Dustin, I'm really excited that because the best way to learn it is to teach it. So now you're going to teach it, and you guys have a great week. So thank you so much. What class is that? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We're doing, and by the way, that'd be a great.
More in depth on the disc. I know that when Coach sending some people to it, go to Lynn, say, I want to go to it. I need more in depth. You get just kind of a quick overview of it the first time you ever had it. You give it a little bit more in other classes, but then we're running a special on it right now, and if you want to go more in depth, so you can look at yours, figure out yours. Dave's also going to go a little bit more in depth than what we normally do in just a regular class. So if you want to get into the 10th, I meant to bring it in.
Do you remember what the website is for it? We're pretty organized here.
Yeah, when he brought that up, it reminded me of it.
Is that here?
Go LeapFox.
Well, we don't know yet.
It depends on how many show up.
We've got like 50 that have already signed up for it. So.
No, it's a disability or it's Go LeapFox.
Oh, I was just looking to see when I had.
You have it when you have
All right, 10:10 it is.
10:10.
9 to noon.
9 to noon. Yeah, so 10:10. And it's called disability or.
So what I would encourage you guys to do,
I'll send it out.
yeah,
I'll send it out to you.
and to make the most of it, if you said, hey, I'm interested in this, Curtis, maybe you'd bring somebody from your office that you're having I don't want to use the word challenge, but you're just like, you know, Lola, I'm trying to communicate with this person. Maybe bring them with, because the whole idea is just a mirror. We're allowing them to see themselves and how it works. So it could be an aha for somebody and I'm talking about somebody that's really good, and you're not somebody you're going, oh, I want to get rid of them. But somebody go, man, if they could just see what they're doing, that might be an encouragement too. So, and in your case where you go, yeah, the guy always coming in, he's mad, he's got to be in the cab over and not the sleeper, that might be a piece too. So think about that. Did you say it's LeapFox Learning?
Go LeapFox.
Oh, Go LeapFox.
Or maybe Go.LeapFox. I don't go there very often. Actually, it's a brand new site that they were explaining to me this morning where it was at. Here it is right here.
Hey, look, my picture's up. It's called the Disc Mastery Workshop.
You didn't even know what it was.
God dang. I train like 120 hours a week, so it's like, oh yeah, that's good. I'm glad that I'm there. So it's really good though, trust me. All right? All right?
Just a quick FYI for you if you want to, and I'll send the link and everything to go and decide if you want to bring a couple people in your group. I think it would be very beneficial for a lot of them.
The man that discovered DISC, he also discovered the comic book character Wonder Woman. And think about this. This is her lariat or lasso of truth. So think about how that works. It's fascinating, all the stuff that goes behind it. But wouldn't it be cool if you had the lasso of truth or the lasso of personality? It'd be handy. So.
Thank you.